Cardinals Nation 24/7 Productions proudly presents this Facebook Live edition of Cardinal Cuts with Chris Lollis. I'm the moderator and co-host of the show, Jared Redwine. And now for the man of the hour, the host, the founder, Mr. Chris Lollis.
It's gotta be easy way to do this, but I won't do that now. Looks like we got about 20 people watching us. Judy says hello, Judy Wilson. Maggie can't wait for tomorrow. Patrick Kramer thinks this is awesome, even though it's kind of comical at this moment as I'm trying to set it up. Let's see, here we go. Maggie says I'm going to lose in week 1 of fantasy, which is obviously mistaken. She doesn't have a clue. Larry says hello, bearded dragon.
Hello, living legend.
Yeah, legend. So if you have questions mainly for Chris, just send them through the chat. I can see them and I'll relay them to him. But in the meantime, we're going to kind of talk about the Facebook page and group, the YouTube channel that we've launched, which most of you probably know about. And we're also going to obviously talk about Cardinals baseball. So, Chris, we have our finalized roster coming into play. We've got Nagowski made the team, which I know you were a big fan of. Edmundo Sosa made the team. Who were you surprised to see that didn't get the call-up, that didn't actually make the team?
I think, we've talked about this personally, but, having Lane Thomas not make the team, I know everybody was kind of high on him coming into the season and thinking that he would automatically have a spot, especially if Bader went down injured. So that would probably be one. But, really Austin Dean and Justin Williams, they earned their spot in the outfield, and the way that Nagowski was hitting, carrying him made sense. Lane Thomas will be on the taxi squad, and I'm sure we'll see him at some point. Hopefully the outfielders don't struggle where we need that, but worst case scenario, he's right across the way, so he could join the team.
Yeah, and what kind of season mode? First question is what kind of season do you expect to see from Paul DeJong? Obviously, it's going to change with Arenado being in the lineup. It's going to put a lot less stress on some of these guys. What kind of season, and how do you think it's going to affect Paul DeJong in his season?
Well, defensively, Arenado is going to cover a lot of ground, which should make it a little bit easier for DeJong. Offensively, DeJong has some power. Average-wise, there's some months where he looks like a 300 hitter, and there's some months he looks like a 200 hitter. He's very streaky in spring. I know he had a lot of strikeouts and didn't look necessarily as sharp as we'd like to see. I think fatigue might play a factor. A couple seasons ago, I think he played all but a game or two. With having Tommy Edman on the team and maybe Sosa able to spell him a day or two, that may be the key is, having DeJong have some days off to where he's not running to the ground. And really it depends on where they slot him in the lineup. That could play dividends on his production.
No, I think you're right. I think definitely, in my personal opinion, is I think we're going to see a lot stronger season out of Paul DeJong with the less, the added, less added pressure, thank you, of having Arenado in the lineup and O'Neill looking pretty sharp to start the season. I think DeJong might even slot behind O'Neill would be my guess. Also, we have another question. It comes from, I need to find it because I lost it already, because the more comments come in, the more. Judy Wilson wants to know, who do you predict will hit a home run tomorrow, Chris?
Oh, man. Playing in Cincinnati, I'd like to say Goldschmidt gets that first home run. It wouldn't hurt my feelings if Edman leads off the game with one, but Goldschmidt likely, I guess, would be my pick of who hits the first one. And basically, any of them that do, it'd be a welcome. But, yeah, I'll go with Paul Goldschmidt as the first Cardinal home run of 2021.
It's a good pick. I don't think they're going to ask me, but I'm going to just say I'm going to think it's going to be Tommy Edman.
That'd be all right.
Or someone they're not going to be familiar to. They're going to prove one down the middle, and he's going to end up putting it over that Great American Wall.
That'd be nice.
Lynn Denise, I hope I said that right. I'm sorry if I didn't. Do you think O'Neill will continue to do well like he has in spring?
Well, we can only hope that it carries over. I mean, the same with like Nagowski and others that, had the hot bat in spring training. I think that's kind of why they made the cut, is they want those hot bats to carry over. With Tyler O'Neill, defensively, I don't think he's a liability at all, especially being a Gold Glove winner last season. Offensively, he's got a lot of power in his bat. If he can maintain some sort of consistency and not strike out, he's good on the base pass. He's fast. I could see it carrying over. He might get off to a little bit of a slow start, but you've got to play him close to every day to see what you've got in him. Consistency is going to be the key. Playing time, as well as getting in a groove to be the hitter that we want him to be.
Yeah, I would think the same too. I think he's going to continue to do well. I think he's going to be one of those guys that's going to be hot and you could go 3 for 4 and then go 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts in a different game. But I think he's going to continue to do well because he's not going to be a primary focus for the opposing team. They're going to be worried about your Carlson and your Goldschmidt and your Arenado, and O'Neill's going to get some good pitches to hit. I hope. Depends on who they have behind him as well.
Yeah.
Let's see here. We've got a question from Russ Robinson. Russ wants to know, do you expect more offensive production from the outfield this season?
Well, man, that's kind of tough too. With having such a young outfield, I know that's kind of like a wild card at this point. They've all got potential, but to see what they can do every day, it's definitely a wild card. Like I just mentioned, O'Neill's got power. He's got speed. It's just kind of putting that all together. Dean and Williams are both a little bit of wild cards because we haven't seen them at the major league level, having a lot of playing time. Bader being out, I don't know when he gets healthy, if he's going to come up and be what he has been offensively. So there's a lot of question marks there. I know the future looks bright as far as potential, but potential only gets you so far. So it'll be interesting to see if we can put something together and these young guys actually show their true potential this season.
Yeah, Russ, I think that your question is kind of key because a lot of that is going to hinge on Dylan Carlson. I think, a lot of people are predicting him to be the breakout National League Rookie of the Year and have a breakout season. I think it's kind of like how they used to say about Dexter Fowler with the Cubs. As Carlson goes, the outfield will go also. So I think it's going to hinge directly on him a lot and put on his shoulders. If Carlson does well, I think the outfield will seem to be doing well. And anything you get out of, Williams or Dean is just going to be a plus at this point. I think O'Neill, isn't going to do any worse than he has before. And then you also have to factor in the Tommy Edman situation because he will be playing out there a little bit too. And he's not going to hurt you. But I think it's all Carlson. I think that kind of question goes on Carlson. If Carlson has a bad year, it's going to, put more emphasis on O'Neill and, Williams or a Dean or Bader when he comes back. And we've talked about this before with Harrison Bader. And Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, but, Bader is a great, speed wise, defensively. I never argue that or doubt that. The question with Bader is, how many 200 hitters can you have on a ball team? And teams can't have 4 or 5, even really 3 200 hitters. Now, if the rest of the team is playing well and you have Bader in the lineup, then he's not hurting you because he's so great defensively and as far as speed and his glove work. But then if you have 3 or 4 other guys and you have Bader out there, it just becomes more of an emphasis and people seem to target him a little more. So,
yeah, I totally agree with that. I mean, that's a lot of the issue with Bader is it's easy to pinpoint that number when you've had Matt Carpenter and his average. And at the time, Fowler wasn't hitting that well. And we just had a bunch of guys hitting barely over the 200 mark. You can't carry a number of players that do that. You can afford one if his defense is elite and you've got some other offense around him to kind of hide that. But yeah, you're right. You're kind of having to have other guys step it up.
Brad Kell jumped on and he says, bold prediction, Matt Carpenter gets a pinch hit tomorrow.
Well,
not only does he pinch hit, but he gets a hit.
It'd be welcome if he did. And I'm sure if he did, one of our group members, Cletus Wakefield, would be the first to post about that. So hopefully that happens.
Never heard of Cletus. Don't even know who you're talking about.
He's a fan favorite.
Never heard of her. Maggie Wiswell wants to know are you happy about Flaherty as the opening day starter over Adam Wainwright?
I am, because that opens up Wainwright to get the home opener at Busch Stadium. So, I mean, that's kind of the way I see it. Now, Flaherty, I think, is a better option, than Wainwright. I love Adam Wainwright, but if you're going with who has the best stuff and really going to lead the team to hopefully be the ace of the club, I would give that nod to Flaherty. As much as Wainwright's done for the team and he's a true captain, I think it's better suited to have him slotted behind him, and to open up the season at Busch Stadium would be ideal. So I think they've got the guys in the right spot heading into the season of the rotation.
I will not comment because I agree with you. Hello, Victor Whelan. Victor wants to know, do you think this is the last season for Adam and Yachty after this season? Do you think this is their last hurrah, so to speak, or do you? Someone there, I was going to give you some. I don't want to lay it up for you.
No, that's kind of a tough one too. Basically, it depends on what the Cardinals do this season, because if all goes as planned and the Cardinals win a World Series, I could see them definitely going out on top. I mean, how would they go out together any better than that? Now, if the Cardinals don't win the World Series, which I know we aren't a favorite to win it, I could see Molina wanting another 1-year deal. Wainwright, I think it's going to depend on his production. If he pitches anywhere close to the way that he did last year, and he looks like he can get through a full season healthy and contributing to the club, he might take another 1-year deal. But Yachty, I think either way, if he struggles or not, he's not going to want to hang him up. It would be ideal to have both of them guys go out together. A lot of that, again, like I said, it depends on what the Cardinals do. If they make a deep run in the playoffs where they get that taste that they're close, I can see them both trying to vie for another 1-year deal.
Yeah, I'm kind of have similar thought process to you. I think a lot of it also is going to depend on personal performance this year, because that's going to warrant them wanting to play again, and then also the Cardinals wanting them to come back again. And if the team does well and they win, and they do fairly well, they may want to just go ahead and say, hey, this has been a good run. Let's hang it up and go out on top. So I think it's pretty interesting season all around as far as players, young guys. We have a good mix of old, crafty veterans, even with Matt Carpenter being on the bench and accepting that bench role for the Cardinals. And then Adam and Wayne, it's Bueno. It's going to be an interesting season.
Yeah, that was a good question, though. Yeah, that's a tough one.
Sorry, I'm reading.
It's all good.
We're live, people.
Yeah, we are. We got a pulse and everything.
So Brad wants to know, we know who's in the rotation, but how will it be overall now that we've seen the depth might not be as deep as we once originally thought?
Well, originally there were some guys that, got put down on the alternate campsite. Some went down already. And you've got a couple injuries, but, we've talked all off season about the strength that the Cardinals have is all their young arms that could come up and contribute. And I've been on record as saying not all of them obviously are going to come up and have a breakout season. But there's the potential there to have at least 2 or 3 guys that aren't household names for most fan bases, and maybe even some of our own fans that might come up and really surprise some people. Whether that's like a Johan Oviedo, just guys like that, I think can be big contributors. I'm not so sure we'll see a lot of Zach Thompson or Matthew Liberatore, early, but those two have bright futures. We've got guys like Seth Elledge that's on the taxi squad and Cody Whitley. You've got Woodford already, in the bullpen, and you got Genesis Cabrera and Alex Reyes that I think are going to see a lot more mound time than what they're saying that they will. It kind of depends on what Gant and Ponce do early if they get in a groove in the rotation. But right now, with Michaelis out for a little over a month and Kim kind of getting eased back in, there are some red flags and worries that the rotation bullpen isn't quite as strong as what we might have predicted early on.
No, I think too you're going to see Alex Reyes is going to get some bulk innings, behind a pitcher that might have a rough start, maybe a spot start here or there, because they want to get him to 100+ innings. And while it's not a starter's workload, it's definitely not a bullpen role. He'd have an awful hard time getting to that inning limit. So I feel like if you've got guys like Gant or Ponce, or even maybe Bueno, or anyone in the rotation for that matter that starts to have a rough outing, I could definitely see Reyes coming in and pitching 2 or 3 innings one day, getting a few days rest. Same type of workload again. And if he's not pitching multiple innings, you might see him pitch back-to-back days just to stretch that inning limit out. But you also have to think we have Jake Woodford on the team. So he's going to get some definite looks at some long innings, or maybe some piggyback with Ponce or Gant, someone that can't go a lot. Kim will be making his way back pretty soon. Who knows what his workload will be. He's going to be in the alternate camp across the river. So I do think we have a lot of options. You even have, like we've talked about before, Chris, you even have a Webb that could go in, 2 innings if need be, or Helsley. But as far as the team goes, we've got plenty of options as far as depth. I know it's we've talked about this. We've got a bunch of guys that could be maybe 2 or 3 order level starters, but we don't know their full potential yet. We could have a couple aces buried in there with guys like Oviedo, but we just don't know. And we're unfortunately going to get to that part where it's going to be all, we've got, all these guys don't know what to do with, or we've got to make some moves, but we've got the potential. But what that potential will turn into, who knows?
Yeah, that'll be a big key for sure.
Let's see. Lynn wants to know, would you change anything with the current batting order? I don't know if we know what the batting order is, but I know where she's going with that.
Yeah, I don't know that the lineup is set in stone as far as the batting order, but there's having Goldschmidt.
What do you think the order will be?
From what I've heard, I mean, Goldschmidt would be batting second. I could see that. We've talked before that. Even though having him in the 3 spot, maybe Arenado batting cleanup, it might be more ideal having Dylan Carlson in a 2 spot to see some pitches. This also gives chance for Paul Goldschmidt to see more at bats a game. I think that's something that early on shouldn't be a lineup in ink. I've always said the Cardinals, I would prefer to see a lineup like that they don't switch around a lot of moving parts. But I would say that if they're going to ride the hot bats, they kind of need to keep that option open. If for some reason Goldschmidt's not hitting good in the 2 spot, don't be afraid to tinker with it. But eventually at some point this season, I would like to see it in ink where they're batting consistent enough to throw that lineup out there every day and be comfortable with it.
Well, now to that batting order, what would you move? Would you move anything or leave it as?
I would leave it. I mean, I like Edman in the leadoff spot. Goldschmidt, it gives him more plate appearances. Arenado in the 3 spot. You can kind of have some interchangeable parts, whether it's DeYoung or O'Neill, after that, or Carlson. But again, it's going to depend on some games too, where Carpenter's in the lineup, as we've talked about. If Carpenter and Molina, you don't want to have them batting next to each other to clog the base paths. But again, that's kind of null and void at this point with Carpenter on the bench. So I don't think we've got to worry about too much of that happening.
Yeah, I think I would like to see Carlson batting in the 4th spot. And I think that's where they might put him, just for the fact I know they're concerned with the righty-lefty bats. And with Carlson and Edman being switch hitters, that's why they didn't want to put Carlson hitting 2. That's why Goldie is, because they didn't want to have 2 potential left-handed bats back-to-back and then all righties after that. Which another reason why, we think Justin helped make his case for making the team is because they wanted that additional left-handed bat. And then you have Carp on the bench, who is a lefty. And those are going to be our guys, because Carlson and Edman are switch. So I think you're going to see Carlson in the cleanup spot a lot, followed by, DeYoung, O'Neill. I think Molina will move down in the order this year. We'll see. I know he likes to hit fifth, sixth, but I think our lineup is good finally now to where we don't need him hitting, in that fifth spot. I still think with the game on the line or a clutch situation, Yachty's one of my top guys. I want to see him with the bat. But I just see, for the makeup of the order, I'd love to see Carlson at 4, O'Neill at 5, just because he's another power threat. Then DeYoung, because I think DeYoung, even though he probably should be 4 or 5, I would like him to have a breakout year and take less pressure off him and put him down a little bit. You're not behind the big guns. Take it easy, relax, and then slot Yachty behind him. And then whether it's Williams, Dean, or Bader, or whoever at the end of that order, which, if Williams is hot, maybe he'll slide up because he's a lefty bat. There's a lot they can do with it. But I think, tomorrow's lineup will, the only ones I don't really know about will be Yachty, DeYoung, O'Neill. I guess it's a lot. Those 4 guys, how they're going to slot. I mean, we kind of know how the 1 through 3 is going to go. And we know probably Justin Williams will play right field tomorrow and he'll be last, other than the pitcher, of course. But how they slot in DeYoung, O'Neill, Yachty, Carlson, those will be the ones to watch. And they might tinker with it a little bit, I think.
Yeah.
Let me see. Because we have Parker Bania. I think it's Bania. Sorry if I said that wrong. I feel like I'm butchering people today. He wants to know, do you think Arenado is here for the long haul, or is he just a rental player? Thanks for the question, Parker.
I think he's in here for the long haul. I mean, I know that he expressed while he was in Colorado wanting to be a Rocky long-term, and things didn't work out. So there's always the chance that things don't work out here in St. Louis, but he's been vocal in saying that he plans on being here for a while. I think some of that depends on how good the Cardinals play, and giving them a chance to win a World Series. That's what he's really wanting. He wants to play for a winner, and the Cardinals, they always compete. So I don't think he's got anything to worry about on that, especially playing across the diamond from Paul Goldschmidt. I think that's something too that is going to keep him around, at least for the next 4 or 5 seasons. That's a pretty good corner to corner combination there. So I would say while some of it depends on the outcome of the season, I think he's going to fall in love with, Busch Stadium, the fans, playing for a consistent winner, and, playing with guys like a Goldschmidt and, Flaherty's here for a few more seasons. He's got a good core here that I think is going to keep him around for more than just a season. So.
Okay. I think so too. In his opening, I guess press conference, they actually asked him, and he said he had no intention of using his opt-out clause, which any player that's coming into a team trying to make a good impression is going to say that.
Right.
But it's not. I think with, a lot of things happening in the marketplace now with, the potential of the new bargaining agreement next season, I don't see him opting out next season. 2 years from now, I don't know. I would like to say no, probably not. But I think this first year, I think we'll definitely have Nolan Arenado for sure next year. And then a lot of it will depend on the bargaining agreement, what kind of that bargaining agreement could throw out some different incentive or money type deals, which could make a player say, I might test the open market. I think with a potential bargaining agreement year coming up after this season, and I know he's going to enjoy his time in St. Louis like everyone has, I think he's at least going to be here for next season. Hopefully it is the long haul. So.
Yeah, and especially given the players we give up to get him wouldn't hurt. I'm not saying at all that I wouldn't want him to stay past 2 seasons, but, we didn't give up the farm system, to where fans should worry too much about that anyway. It's exciting that Arenado's a Cardinal, but for what we've give up, even if you had him for a couple seasons, I think the value of what we give up is well worth what we've got.
Yeah, I agree. And then Gomber looked really good at first. He's kind of turned out a little shaky for the Rockies. So, like I said, we got him for a year for free. We dumped away Fowler to make some room to free up an outfield spot, which now I guess is going to go to Justin Williams and Austin Dean. But the Cards, and that's why a lot of people were asking about Carp. What about cutting him? The Cardinals basically already did dump, close to $18 million already, with Fowler being sent to the Angels for pretty much nothing. That was in, essence, a salary dump already. So if they did that with Carpenter, you'd be looking at almost $40 million they just dump off. So I think they have room. They have payroll room, especially after COVID's done, and we get a look to see how the team's going to be financially, to maybe make an additional rotation piece move later. So I think those kind of moves and having the money to keep a strong competitive team, which Colorado doesn't, and the Cardinals do if they want to finally use it, will be all, factors in Arenado staying with the team.
Yeah. And, Larry had a good point last night, when we recorded our flagship show, that, in the past we've had a 25-man roster. And now that we've got a expanded roster, just look at it like Carp's taking up a spot that we normally didn't have. That might help some of these fans sleep at night, knowing that just because we're carrying him, it might block another player that could be more productive. But just look at it like he's taking an extra spot that we didn't have a couple seasons ago. It's not really hurting the team. Give him an opportunity. If he's not cutting it, there's always the chance they could put him on the injured list with a mystery element and eventually cut ties with him. But at least give the guy a last go and see if he can bring something to the table.
Dynamite drop in, Chris. Stephen Cobb is watching. He just says interesting discussion. Thanks, guys.
Appreciate you checking it out, Stephen. Yeah.
Thanks, Stephen. I asked if anyone wanted a prize, and a few people said that they did. So you got a question here from Lynn. She wants to know, what was your impression of Nolan Gorman? Oh, hold up. Hello, Aunt Debbie. My Aunt Debbie's watching. Says hello. Hope you're doing well. Love you. Miss you.
Hi.
Lynn wants to know, what was your first impression of Nolan Gorman, and how many years do you think he is from making the big league team?
Well, from what I've seen, he did look good. There were some things I think that he could work on, that he's not quite ready for the major leagues. I think really he's maybe a little more than a season away. Some of that's going to depend on how well Tommy Edman does at second base and how well Nolan Gorman takes to second base. Obviously, if we've got Arenado, third base is going to be out of the question for him to have a path to the big leagues. There's always the option that the Cardinals will have a designated hitter in the near future. That might be something that Gorman could come up and take part in, but I do think that's more than a season away before we see any kind of big league impact or debut from Gorman. But having said that, I think it's nice to see that the guy, especially at his age, is being a team player, willing to take on a different position than what he's comfortable with. He said he would play anywhere, outfield, infield. He prefers having his cleats on the dirt. So second base is where he's going to get his reps in. But the kid's got a good head on his shoulders, got a lot of pop in his bat. Could probably work on a little bit more consistent contact, but he looks good. The future looks bright. And as Cardinal fans, we want him to come up as soon as possible, but we need to be patient with some of these guys.
Yeah, I think he's looked really well. He even looks good at third base. Obviously, that position is blocked. Moving him to second, he's been putting in a lot of extra time with Jose Oquendo and Stubby Clapp and Jupiter, even before spring training started. And then he's staying behind now. He did not go to the alternate site, which most people at the alternate site are pretty much going to be going to AAA once AAA starts. For those of you that don't know, that AAA season has been moved back a month, so it's not going to start until May. So a lot of people think Jupiter, like Gorman and Herrera, are going to keep working with guys like Clapp and Oquendo, and they're going to work and play some, inter squad games and stuff with the remaining minor leaguers before they ship out to Springfield. But he's looked good at second base. He's looked good in the outfield. We're currently, I think, Chris, we're in no rush to get him moved up. I definitely think if he breaks in AA, he'll be going to AAA soon. So yeah. I think a lot of good things are coming up from Nolan. So stay tuned. And depending on how things go next year with the DH, that's going to create an extra spot for a lot of people. And then he doesn't need a spot. But I think, especially earlier in his career, he has good footwork. He's not super fast, but his footwork is good. He's able to make the plays. It's just getting used to second, turning that double play. And until they had the area rule, where guys were sliding in and taking you out, you had to play that position a lot differently. Now they don't have that. It's easier to receive the ball, transition, make the throw to first. So it's an easier position to play than it used to be. So the transition shouldn't take as much time, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
And defense isn't, I'm not saying it's not important, but when you see guys like, last season, Mike Moustakas, a third baseman playing second base with a lot of power, he's not as agile as like a Colton Long, but he held down second, for the Reds. And that might be kind of the way you see a Nolan Gorman come up, where he's got the bat. He doesn't have to cover the ground, especially when you got Goldschmidt at first base too, where he covers a lot of ground. Not saying again that we don't value defense, but it's the baseball's kind of changing where they're putting more of a value on offense, and I think Gorman's going to bring that. And even though it might be a little more than a year away, when it comes, I think fans are going to be pleasantly surprised in what he can bring to the team.
I agree. Good stuff, Chris. Chris, real quick, let's take a minute. I have some other questions coming in, but let's take a real quick minute. Can you explain to the people, what made you want to start Cardinals Nation 24/7? What made it click in your mind on like, hey, I want to go do this? Then what kind of pushed you to make it the biggest one out there? And what are your thoughts about where it's at today? That's a question for Red Wine.
Well, the crazy thing about it is there are a ton of Cardinal fan groups on Facebook, and you and I were a part of several, and we, kind of seen what some of those groups turned into, where there was just so many rules in place of, some groups it all had to be rah, cheering only, you couldn't critique a ball player, you were getting kicked out of the group. You saw some groups would belittle people that if their knowledge of the game wasn't up to par with some, they were targets basically, where, they were attacked with comments, and we try to do a good job of moderating that. We are coming up on 40,000 members, the biggest Cardinals fan group on Facebook. And there is only so many hours in the day that the moderators can see comments. So it is a hard job. It's an unpaid gig, but we enjoy it. That's the reason that we started it, was we just saw what other groups were. We kind of wanted to be one that every fan had a voice, whether you're a casual fan or a diehard fan. We enjoyed the game day photos when people would post those, thoughts and opinions, blog articles that people write, podcasts that, people come out with, just anything St. Louis Cardinals related. And it's brought fans from all over the world together, and to have a platform. So that's been the coolest part of it, is meeting so many Cardinal fans and interacting with them that, aside from the group, we would never know them otherwise. So that's been the coolest part. The growth of it has grown at an exponential rate. Having it and the Facebook page, they are two separate entities. I know some fans are like, I see Cardinals Nation 24/7. I'm confused. What's a page and what's a group? The page, as we've said before, that's myself and Jared and Larry Cox. We share content that we find from ESPN, Twitter, anything that's Cardinals related from mainstream media or some of these blog sites. We share that on the page. The group is the fan forum where everybody can type in, basically anything within reason. We try to ask that, people not troll the group constantly, or, you can critique a ball player, but
nobody does.
Yeah, they kind of run away with that sometimes. But, that's what the fan group is all about, is having a platform where they can voice their opinions, good and bad. It's not always going to be rainbows and butterflies. We hear people constantly that they come in and they're like, I thought this was a positive group. Well, just because everybody's not positive all the time doesn't mean they're not passionate fans. We appreciate everybody that is in the group, and we try to do our best to moderate it and make it, the best group on Facebook.
It's real easy to do. A lot of, you do get some people that join the group and they say, oh, well, there's some negative people in here. You got to think how many people are in the group right now, Chris?
There's over 37,000, and not everybody's going to have the same opinion. It would be boring if everybody agreed all the time. And the biggest thing that I can tell people is if you see somebody posting constantly and you're not enjoying what you're seeing from them, you can block them individually and never see another post or comment that they make. Also, too, if you want there to be more positivity in the group, post something positive. Post a picture of your favorite player. Brag up a player that, whether he's struggling or not, don't be afraid of the feedback. Flood it right back with some positive stuff. I know the ones that they call the haters, the ones that are, consistently bashing on a player, they're the loud minority. There's a lot more fans in the group that interact and bring a positive feel than those that just post the negative. So I just encourage people that if you're discouraged from commenting and posting, don't be. Post something positive, share your fandom. That's what it's all about.
Trying to go through some of these here and make sure this is shareable and posted where it needs to be. Charlie Simmons says, we may have already answered this, but how often do you think you will see Carpenter over in the starter type Nolan? I'm thinking maybe over Nolan Arenado. So I'm sure that's the question. How often do you think we'll see Carp at third base?
Oh, well, hopefully you won't. Unless he's just dog tired and needs a day off, I don't want to see Carpenter at third base over Arenado. I think most of his reps are going to come at second base when they do plug Carp into the lineup. And, I think Schultz basically said too that Edman will go to center field on days where Carpenter is playing second base. So I don't see Carpenter getting many starts, but I think we'll see the month of April really being where they test Carpenter out and see what they've got him. If the struggles continue from spring training, the leash is going to be very short and very tight on Carpenter, and seeing him come in on anything outside of a pinch hit will be unlikely.
Yeah, I can't forget that I'm on. I keep forgetting I know we're live, but I keep forgetting I'm on camera when I'm doing other stuff. Got a question here in my messenger from Not Matt Holiday, and that's his name on Facebook. He wants to know how many home runs, or not how many, who do you think will lead the team in home runs this year, and how many will they hit?
I would like to say that Arenado is going to, bring some power with him, even not hitting at cores, but I think Goldschmidt's going to be your home run leader. It wouldn't surprise me if he hits over 30. I'd give him 35. I think Goldschmidt has a good year. And as far as other Cardinals that could be, O'Neill, I think, hits 20. Arenado hits probably 20, 25 home runs. Goldschmidt's going to be the power bat, I believe. So that's who I'd give that nod to. But again, I'd like to see guys like DeYoung be a 20-plus home run guy. He's done it before. And just if I had to go with the highest total, I think Goldschmidt gets that nod.
35, huh?
35, yeah.
Chris is he loves his Cardinals. I'm going to say I think you're right. I think Goldschmidt's going to be up there. I actually think Tyler O'Neill's going to be right behind him and pushing him all year. I think O'Neill's probably going to hit about 26 home runs this year. That's my guesstimate. And I think Dylan Carlson's going to be right behind him. That's what I think. And I think Nolan's going to get 20. We have a lot of potential 20 home run guys. But I don't know. I hope somebody hits over 30, but I'm thinking O'Neill's going to have a good season too. So hopefully so. Victor wants to know, how do you spell Mike Schultz? No, just kidding. He was joking about himself about spelling it wrong. But he wants to know, what are your thoughts on Mike Schultz and the job he's done the last couple of years?
I think he's done a good job. There was a lot of fans, especially in our group, that was ready to move on from Mike Matheny. And, I've said before, I think sometimes the manager gets a bad rap. But in Matheny's case, I think it just wasn't working out. It did in the beginning. Some people say it was because of the team that he inherited. But sometimes the inconsistent lineups or putting a struggling player out there, that was Matheny's demise. Schilt, it seems like he goes with a hot hand a little more than Matheny did. He's got a good relationship with the players that I think everybody's comfortable with. Everybody speaks highly of him. He's been around the game for a long time, even though he wasn't a former player. He's been in the system for a long time, has some good relationships. I like what he does. He's manager of the year. He's done quite well. So I have nothing bad to say about him. I mean, there's probably some things he needs to work on, but I don't know how any Cardinal fan could be saying too much negative towards him. I like his passion. I like the camaraderie he's got with his guys, and always goes to bat for them. So I'm a big Schilt fan.
Yes, me as well. I think Mike Schilt, I think a lot of people, the manager, if the team is doing bad, the manager is always the first person to get crapped on, basically. The team's doing horrible, fire Matheny, fire Mabry. But I think a lot of it has to do with just their management style and how they approach the players and the team. It's kind of keeping everyone together as a family and keeping everyone harmonious and on the same page. I think as far as that goes, I think Schilt does a great job. The players seem to like him and respect him. And not that the Cardinals in the past are not really the type of team or players to badmouth the coach. We felt some friction there with Matheny and Matheny's boys, and that was kind of generated by the media, not by a lot of players. The only player interaction Matheny had, which seemed to be a little testy, was Molina on a couple of occasions. And those guys were former teammates, and I think it was more Molina just stating his case and not necessarily complaining. People took it that way. But I think everyone likes Schilt. He delivers a good message to the clubhouse. The players like him. That's really what you're going for. A lot of these guys aren't really being – my clothes are done. A lot of these guys really aren't being managed, so to speak, by the manager and being told what to do and how to play every single position and where to be at what time and what to do and what count. It's more just conveying a general team message, making sure everyone's on the same page. And I think as far as that goes, he's done a fantastic job.
Yeah, I think some fans, especially in his post-game interviews, he does have a monotone, kind of doesn't sound overly excited, a lot of the times. Probably not quite as, mundane or monotone as Mozeliak, that he catches a lot of flack for, but he seems to just kind of say what's expected of him to say. I think fans sometimes want to see more fire out of him, but if you caught any glimpse of the recording that Rose Arena leaked when they made the playoffs, you could tell that there's a lot of fire in Schilt, and he's not afraid to go after an umpire, when he disagrees with a call and go to bat for his guys. So there's a lot of fire there. Just sometimes I think the monotone interviews, some fans might want a little more fire from him on that. But that's again about the only thing bad you can say about the guy. It's not a bad thing.
Yeah, pretty much when you're talking to a manager from Major League Baseball, it's like interviewing a driver after a NASCAR race. Yeah, we got a good car today. We just had turn 3 got us. There's not really much going on. And same with players. The interviews after the game are the same thing. What were you? I was just looking for his pitch to hit, something I could do damage with, put the ball in place, see what happens. And I think Schilt is very, programmed as far as that goes, other than the Rosarena tape that was leaked after the playoffs. I guess that's probably the Mike Schilt behind the scenes that the players like that we don't get to see.
Exactly.
That's part of being a good manager. Know when to, push it and be aggressive with your team and celebrate and have a good time, and then know when to keep even keel and move on to the next game.
Right.
Parker wants to know, he heard it being said that with the 26-man roster, the Cardinals may carry 14 pitchers. To him, that idea seems ridiculous. I do know going into the opening season in Cincinnati, Parker, that we were going to have 13 pitchers. But I have heard that as well, that they're thinking as series go on, running that up to 14. Chris, your thoughts on that?
I mean, I don't know that I would call it ridiculous, but I would probably be more comfortable with another bat rather than another arm, just because the arms that we do have some guys that can give you multiple innings that I don't think warrants carrying an extra pitcher. But again, as the season goes on, some of these guys' arms might tire, and like a Wainwright, where you have to lean on some of these guys. So maybe carrying an extra arm at some point in the season wouldn't be a bad idea, but definitely not out of the gate. I think 13 is enough. If you start seeing some fatigue or some struggling from Carlos or some of the bullpen arms, then I could see, going that route. So 13 to start the season, 14 maybe as the season gets going, but I don't think it's ridiculous. I just think don't start the season with it.
Yeah, I think a lot of it too is going to maybe on matchups. If maybe Schilt or Maddox see going into the next series that they do a lot of potential matchup type situations, and maybe they look at carrying someone because, and you've got guys that, Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, but we've guys at the alternate site that we'd like to cite, like we'd like to see like Quezada, Oviedo, we'd like to see him get into some games. I mean, these are guys that have pretty good potential. I mean, whenever you get Fernandez was sent down to the minor leagues, basically, or optioned off the major league spring training camp, 3-4 weeks ago. So you knew that guy being a regular bullpen piece 2 years ago. That's a pretty big move. You have guys like Elledge now and Whitley that are not on the team, and those guys could very well be on the team making it right now. So we definitely have the long-term arms, and that's without Nicholas and Kim being back. And then you've got to send 2 guys out. So I think just keeping that extra fresh arm. And I don't think this is going to be a season to where you see, a lot of people think, pitchers have to go 5-6 innings, even if they get in trouble. I think you're going to see Schilt have a quick hook on a lot of these guys this year, as we kind of saw in the spring, that if they just don't have their stuff, with our bullpen and our makeup, potentially one of the best bullpens in Major League Baseball. I don't think we have to push the envelope. You can see someone like a Reyes or someone coming in fairly quick. I mean, Ponce is going to eventually go to the bullpen, and so is Gant. When you got multiple guys that can throw several innings, there's no reason to keep that pitcher out there if they don't have their stuff that day, which is going to happen, where they're humans. Then, you basically, recalculate your game plan and bring somebody else in.
Yeah, and those guys at the alternate site, we've joked Johan Oviedo, Johan Quezada, Tommy Parsons had a great spring that he might be a contributing arm, and then you've got your young guns, Liberatore and Zach Thompson, guys like Roel Ramirez that made the team last year a little bit. You've got Seth Elledge, Angel Rondon. There's a ton of arms that can come up and at least contribute some. Again, I think the COVID situation is going to be a little better than it was last season, but there is already some outbreaks going on, I think, with the Nationals that we might have to deal with. That could mean that some of these arms that might not be on our radar immediately do get to see some time. So maybe not carrying that many, but we've got plenty to choose from that I think can come up and make an impact.
Yeah, I think so too. Hey, Pat Kramer, thanks for jumping in and watching. Got another question here. Go back up to it. It's weird. Every time I scroll up on this Facebook, it keeps telling me I got a birthday coming up in 2 days. It's weird. It won't quit telling me that. Let's see. Parker chimed in again, says he's totally against pitch counts, thinks they're totally stupid. Pitchers are called and babied way too much. They need to be done away with. Pitch counts, we actually talked about pitch counts kind of we did a tribute episode. You can find it on YouTube, Cardinals Nation 24/7. We did a tribute episode based on Lou Brock and Bob Gibson since they passed away last year. And that was like one of the main things we talked about was those guys, basically how things have changed and the amount of complete games and innings that Bob Gibson threw was just unheard of. But I'm with you. I don't like pitch counts either. I feel like the game has went to pitch counts. I kind of like the whole look and feel, if someone's having a rough inning, it could just because the other team's pretty good, I think it's more like missing location, fatigue, body language, if someone's getting a little frustrated. I think it should be more off of that. But what are your thoughts on being too reliable on the pitch count?
No, I totally agree with that. There's nothing wrong with having a pitch count, but having like a strict one, that, hey, I'm not letting my guy go over this amount of innings or pitches is just crazy. I know even an innings count, they have that on Reyes this year of they don't want him pitching over 100 innings. And, we talked about that before, that you're already limiting a guy that maybe you don't want to go out there and have him throw his arm off, but at what point do the training wheels come off and you actually see what a player is capable of doing? There's been several games that a guy might have a no-hitter going late in the game and a manager's pulling the guy for a pitch count, and I just shake my head like, boy, I'd be pissed if I was that pitcher. It's, if you can see some fatigue and the game's on the line and you think, hey, I've got a better option, I could see that, but I don't go into the game saying that this is how many pitches. I don't want him going over that. That is babying a guy. And even though baseball's different than it was in the Gibson era, I'm not a fan of, having that immediately coming out of the gate. Hey, this guy's got X amount of pitches. I don't want him getting close to that or over that. That's just limiting a guy.
Yeah, and I think two players also get certain things put in their head. That's why I think they're kind of being careful with naming a closer, because you start telling them you're only going to pitch this many innings, they might start paying close attention to it. But I think it's a bad idea to tell a pitcher you're only going to go 5 tonight and you're out, because then they start thinking, okay, I'm almost done. Or I would just say, hey, we're going to start you and see how it goes. We're going to go for feel. If you're having problems, ask for a mount visit. We'll come out and see what's taking place. I don't like the whole limitations. Also, we're getting asked. I got a question from Jordan, a question from Logan, and then Victor, who's watching us live. Also, thanks for all the questions, guys. A lot of people are asking. I guess they're not paying. They probably isn't entrenched in their lives like it is with us. But people are liking a recap of what happened to Harrison Bader.
A recap with Bader, the forearm issue, where what's he getting, a platelet injection? He'll be out 4 to 6 weeks.
He's got forearm. His forearm's been. They said it was barking. That was the medical term.
A barking forearm. I've probably used that excuse a time or two. No, just
usually it's your feet, isn't it? My feet. My dogs are barking. It's your feet. Oh, well, that's my dogs.
Dogs are barking. Yeah. No, it's something that seeing the struggles that he was having in the spring. If there is something obviously wrong with his arm, you want that to heal up. But yeah, the timeline on that, 4 to 6 weeks. And as much as we all think that the Cardinals are in love with already having Bader slotted in as a everyday starter, no matter what his batting average is, I do think at the start of the season, if you see, Williams and Dean run with it and they're hitting, I think it might be a hard path for Bader to get a job back. Not saying they totally cut ties with him, but I think his path of getting back isn't just going to be, hey, I'm healed, put me in the lineup. I could be wrong. But if you've got guys like Dean and Williams hitting, if Carlson's raking and O'Neill's doing what he needs to do, Bader's path back might not be, as guaranteed as what we've thought it might be.
Yeah, that's always the tricky part with injuries too, is if someone comes in and just, has the hot hand and is performing well, they're probably going to keep getting that opportunity until it goes away. And then Bader would be, relegated to playing a defensive replacement at the end of the game, or even a pinch runner situation, which I think is well suited for someone of his makeup.
Yeah, and the opposite could happen. You could have the outfielder struggle and Bader gets slid back in as soon as he heals up, to where it's not really much of a downgrade. If those guys don't take the reins with this, there is Lane Thomas too that's chomping at the bit on the taxi squad. But if there's some struggling going on in the outfield, Bader may get slotted back in and not have to earn much of a way back. But if guys are hitting, Bader's path he's really going to have to work for it to get it back.
Yeah. Thanks everybody for joining us so far and asking the questions that you have. You're live with Cardinals Nation 24/7. It's a live edition of Cardinal Cuts with Chris Lollis, taking your questions through the actual comment section, through Messenger, or carrier pigeon, whichever way you want to send them in to us. We'll grab a few more on here, and we're going to throw out a couple of ways that you might be able to win a prize if you behave. Duffy's watching. Duffy, what's up? He says, "What's up, brothers?"
Duffy, who's that? Is that guy that keeps saying he'll join a podcast with us and gets cold feet, or what?
I think it sounds familiar. I thought that guy's Duster. I wasn't for sure.
What's up, Duffy?
I have his email. Lynn wants to know, how do you feel about the extra inning rule with the starting of the runner on second base? It's obviously staying into play again this year. Your thoughts?
I know I'm old school, and nobody, they say, wants to see a 4-hour baseball game. So when a game gets into extra innings, this is kind of what they're going with. I'm not particularly a fan of it. No, it doesn't change much. Some people threw a fit, when they did away with the intentional walk and having the pitcher pitch 4 pitches, now you just point to the base. I was okay with that, because how often do you get a wild pitch on something like that? But putting a guy automatically at second base, I know just there's so much with that you lay a bunt down, then he's at third. Teams can go that route. I'm just not that big of a fan of it. Who gets that earned run if he crosses the plate? Just put him on there. It seems like Little League style to me. I know this is the game's changed where the young fan base doesn't have the attention span to want to sit through long games, but baseball, some parts of it, I don't mind tweaking, but something like that, I think it's Little Leaguish to me.
Yeah. Okay, fine. I'm actually, I'm kind of tore on it. I know you didn't ask my opinion, but I was going to give it. Last year, I feel like certain times I liked it and certain times I didn't. The only thing I don't like about I like the fact of having it. It's kind of like the football rule, right? First team scores, wins. I don't like that, but it's kind of, if somebody gets on base, they're immediately, or gets a hit, they're immediately going to do a pinch runner for the fastest runner on the team. But it does put pressure on the other team. So part of that, I guess, depending on what team you're watching or going for, can be exciting. So I'm kind of in the middle on it. I would like to see it this year in a regular season without all these doubleheader games and stuff, and kind of see exactly, how it plays out, and then maybe, choose from there would be my thing. Got a question online from Evan. He wants to know your thoughts on not having the designated hitter this season in the National League.
Again, and I'll contradict myself here because I just said I was old school. In the past, I've not wanted to see the National League take.
You always got me.
Yeah, but no, in years past, I've been an advocate of keep the National League the way it is. I like the strategic style of not having a DH, but we got a taste of it last season. I was kind of hoping they would just go ahead and transition because it's headed that way anyway. In today's game, pitchers coming up, whether that's high school and college, the pitchers aren't hitting, and so you're getting into that era where how often do you see a pitcher get a hit? There are the rare occasions where you see somebody like a Wainwright or a Bumgarner or something like that get a hit, and that's great, but very rarely.
He did a home run in batting practice today.
Right. But very rare. No, I didn't.
You did, yeah.
But very rarely is it exciting to see a pitcher bat. And, on the flip side of that, I know having a DH that opens up a spot for guys like a Nelson Cruz that, even at an older age is still able to rake, gives that type of ball player a chance at some longevity and a chance to contribute. So I would like to, I've always wanted to see it be the same across the board. I've hated that the American League has had it, the National League hasn't. As much as I like the strategic style of not having it, I'm on board. I'm way past on board of just seeing the National League embrace it. That gives those older guys a chance to keep playing and pitchers a less opportunity to get hurt on something that really doesn't benefit them at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you. I actually thought up until even, a week or so ago, there still might be a chance that it would come into play. Obviously it didn't because, nobody wants the pitchers to hit, not even the players. And even though it's just it is a weapon to be used in a bargaining agreement for next year. And obviously the players and the players union want that because it's going to add 15 full-time jobs to a Major League Baseball roster. That's why, and I've always went back to this before, is that's why you see guys like David Ortiz would never done what he did in the National League. That's why Albert Pujols went to the Angels. Turns out it was a good move numbers wise for us, but it's because, the National League cannot afford to give out those big long-term contracts because, the problematic factor of those contracts is they're just not going to be able to play defensively. There's nowhere to put them. And then they just become a liability those last several years of the contract. This will, in turn, make it to where 15 more teams can offer longer deals to players. with more money, which is going to be more security for more players. And you're going to add 15 full-time starting lineup positions to every major league roster, which the players want. And then I think in today's day and age too, you're also paying pitchers so much money. Some of these guys like Bauer in the National League this year, he's going to be expected to hit, and how many, I can't even remember the name of the guy. Maybe somebody knows, send me a message, but we've already had pitchers get injured in spring training from batting. It happened a couple years ago to Wainwright when he tore his Achilles when he took a hit and was running out of the batter's box in Milwaukee. And he was having a great year, like his first 4 starts into that, but he tore his Achilles, was out for the year. Brad Penny, who was doing a good job for us years back, tore his back lat muscle hitting a grand slam. And he hit a grand slam, only one, but ended his career basically. You're just paying pitchers too much money now, and the risk is too high. They don't have enough emphasis on batting because they didn't bat at all last year. So, they haven't focused on it for a whole entire season. Now they're back going into a batter's box. It'd be almost no different than asking, Uri to get out there and try to hit a Jordan Hicks fastball. They're obviously, if it's that late in the game, they're going to pinch hit for the guy, but it's just the old time game. I'm with you. I was more old school is why I like seeing the pitcher play. I like the whole bunt aspect of the game. The double switching adds a managerial strategic element to the game, but with the way the money is in games now and the way things are transitioning, it just is not a feasible option. And, the game has to change, and I think it will be for sure after the next bargaining agreement. It's going to be into play, and they know that they want expanded playoffs, which is more money for the league. But so they're just holding certain things like that everybody wants, but they just know to wait to negotiate it to end next year. It's over.
Yeah, the landscape would change too. I know just a couple seasons ago when everybody was kind of down, well, not everybody, but some people were down on Mozeliak for letting Ozuna walk. If we knew that a DH was in place for last season, I think Mozeliak would have maybe made a better offer than the qualifying offer to retain him for a DH spot. I'm not saying that he for sure would have, but I mean, that option of having a guy DH, that could change the landscape for a lot of teams.
Yeah. And it will have effect on some of these longer contracts. And then you say Goldschmidt wants to play 2 more years after this, or maybe even Yachty does play another year, and his bat has been what it has been, and it's been reliable. Not that he's going to crush the ball, hit a bunch of home runs, but then you can put someone like him, DHing once a week. Goldschmidt, his bat's in the lineup, but then Nogowski can play first base, or somebody of his nature, or Gorman can come up faster because he doesn't have to play in the field every day. This creates and does so many different dynamic things with the lineup, I think, which will be fun to see, especially the first couple of years, to see how they kind of toy with it. And if it was here this year, Carpenter would be your DH.
Yeah, batting under 100.
That's a fact. Chris, why do you got to be so negative?
I'm sorry.
Gosh, I'm telling you what, this guy. It's just fault. Judy Wilson, avid supporter of the page in the group. Thank you, Judy.
Yep,
she wants to know how many games do you think Bueno will pitch or start, I guess, this year is probably what she wants to know.
Well, it's tough. I'd like to see him do what he's done. Some of that might depend on if Schilt wants to give him some rest where they don't overwork his arm. It's a big workload for a guy who's 39 years old to go out there and he'll give you 6 or 7 innings too per outing. I mean, he's not somebody that goes out and usually has a bad few innings and gets pulled. So, that's really tricky. I'm not really sure a number to throw out there even. If he can do what he did last season, I think no fan should be able to have any reason to complain on his workload or his performance. So we'll just kind of, hopefully it emulates that.
How many games did you say?
What do you think? 20?
I'd say he's going to start 20 games. Yeah. Barring, I think he's in the rotation until the end of the season if he doesn't get hurt.
Yeah.
No matter how well he pitches. And I do Yeah, Judy, they're going to try to be creative too with some of these off days. That's why I think we were asked earlier by Maggie if we like the fact that Flaherty was starting over Wainwright, but I think they want to shift it to where Bueno can start opening day at Busch Stadium. I think opening day at Busch Stadium was more important to the Cardinals this year than opening day on the road.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I'm glad you agree with it. Chris, tell everybody a little bit what we've been doing on YouTube.
Well, YouTube, I know some people have noticed influx in some of the things that we've been posting in the group, where weekly we do an episode. It's a Cardinals Nation 24/7 podcast where myself, Jared Redwine, Larry Cox, we go over the week that was in Cardinal baseball. It's been a lot of spring training updates and, projections and predictions and whatnot. We've had some bonus episodes when the Cardinals made moves like the Arenado trade and moving on from Fowler and signing Wainwright and Molina. So we've got a bunch of episodes under our belt. We're trying to build a brand over there of getting as many subscribers as we can. And it's not because it's a popularity contest. It's because we enjoy interacting with fans. We want to put a voice to the Cardinals Nation 24/7 page and group. You guys are a big part in that. So it kind of goes hand in hand with us doing this show. That's why we're sharing so much of it to the group, is to get you guys interacting and subscribing to it. It's free. Usually we go about an hour a week. Don't expect everybody to tune in for a whole hour each time, but for those that do, it's just us talking ball, and we do try to incorporate a lot of what the fans are talking about in the group and shouting out members and doing special giveaway prizes. We're close to 400 subscribers in just a couple months, so it's been exciting. We don't take it too serious, but we're not just on there half-assed. And we're really giving you any kind of knowledge that we have on what's happening, some thoughts and opinions. Most importantly, interacting with you guys and making it not just our show, but everybody in Cardinals Nation 24/7 show.
We got another question here. Lynn wants to know, who is your favorite broadcaster to work alongside with Danny Mac?
Well, I like Edmonds.
Yeah, Jimmy Ball game.
I like Edmonds, but him and Brad Thompson too. I like that combination. Years of hearing Ricky Horton, and it's no knock to Horton, but I think that it's almost like Danny Mac and him, big brother, little brother, where when you've got a BT in there or an Edmonds, you're getting kind of more of the modern day ball player mentality. I do like hearing Horton stories about the 80s and, having McCarver and his stories, even though some people got burned out of that. It's going to be a dying era with McCarver out and Shannon's last season in the booth, that some of those stories of Cardinal legends are going to go away. We're not going to get those with these newer guys, but it is nice, the era that we grew up in, hearing Brad Thompson and Jim Edmonds talk shop during a ball game. That's probably as good as it gets right now, is Danny Mac paired with those two.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah. I actually do. I've grown to really like hearing Brett Thompson the last couple of years when he gets the chance to commentate. I just think him and Danny Mac work well together and have an interesting back and forth. And Brad's a little funnier than I thought he would be. I like Edmonds more for his inside of the game, not really so much for his wit. But yeah, I think as long as Danny Mac's there, it kind of just everything kind of flows regardless of who's in the seat next to him. Even Horton, you can like him from time to time. Yeah. Chris, what are your thoughts? It's Mike Shannon's last year in the broadcast booth. Your thoughts on Mike Shannon and this being his last year?
50 years, as a voice is just, we've been spoiled with getting to hear many games on KMOX from Mike Shannon. And, his knowledge is one thing, but his humor and what he brings to the announce team, that's going to be missed. I've hated to hear a couple of the games that I've caught on the radio this spring where Shannon's kind of struggled a little bit. I mean, you can tell that it's taken its toll on him.
And, too, I think, yeah.
Yeah, and I know he had the bout with COVID, and it nearly cost him his life. And only the best we can wish for him. But we've been spoiled, and I think we can appreciate what he's done for half a century. That's amazing. But his humor will be missed as much as his insight. And, again, we're just going to miss him and need to enjoy this last season, getting to hear him call Cardinal games on the radio.
I agree, Chris.
Oh, nice bobblehead there.
I went and grabbed him real quick.
Nice.
Duffy said he's going to miss him. He thinks that obviously him and Jack Buck together were the greatest announced team of all time, which I would have to agree.
Yeah, that's hard to argue. I mean, that was quite a pair. And, we are spoiled now with Danny Mack, who I think is the best in the business. I know I catch more Cardinal games than any other, but, Danny Mack brings that humor along with knowledge and just having a voice, and we've had him on prior, doing podcasts and got to speak with him. So he's just a down to earth guy that has, he's got the pulse of St. Louis behind him, and he's a St. Louis guy. So, we're spoiled on having the guys we've had in the past, but also the guys we've got moving forward.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Zach Jen wants to know, what is the secret sauce to get his beard as dreamy as yours?
Well, I stole Matt Carpenter's salsa, is why he can't hit for shit, and I smeared it all over this luscious beard, and it's giving me all the vitamins and proteins to make this bearded dragon look the way he looks. So it's all Matt Carpenter's salsa. I'm not giving it back. He's going to continue to struggle, and Cletus going to continue to post what he posts. It's all my fault.
Wow, you really took that dreamy beard comment, took it to the next level.
Damn right I did.
So that's what we do here at Cardinals Nation 24/7. Let's see here. $39 million steal, he said. That's all the extra questions I have currently. Zach loved your response, by the way, he says.
I'm glad he did.
Thanks for tuning in. When you're not selling houses, taking care of babies, or pumping some iron, we're glad you could take 5 minutes of your day to join us, Zach.
Yeah.
So I guess, Chris, let's real quick, we'll circle back and tell everybody where they can find you normally as we get close to probably wrapping it up here.
Well, most everybody knows they can find me in the group, especially during the season. I'll put up game threads, which I'll be doing that tomorrow. Start of every game, I'll put the game thread up. I'll pin that as an announcement. And we use that as a way of fans, instead of posting 500 different posts in the group, they can have one platform to kind of do play-by-play type of commentary. But
you just go to the group FYI and say base hit. Great. What we're probably going to delete those. You can go to game thread. There's a game thread that'll be at the top, what Chris is saying, for those of you that might not know. And you click on that to go in, and that's where everyone comments, talks about the active game.
Yeah, and I know not everybody's going to do that. And every year it seems like per game we're getting 300 to 500 different posts of, did you see that? Did you see that? And that's cool that y'all want to interact that way. But doing it in the game thread kind of keeps that to one post. I mean, if there's a home run or something, sure, go for it. But just every play, you don't need to post 20 different times to the group in a day. But you can find us, in the group on the Facebook page as well, Cardinals Nation 24/7. We're on Instagram, Cardinals Nation 247, on Twitter at Cards Nation 247. Myself and Jared both do side projects with audio podcasts. I do Cardinal Cuts with Chris Lollis. It's just a Q&A that I do with you guys in the group. Jared does Redbirds with Red Wine, where he does a deep dive into the minor league aspect of things. That's a sweet shirt he's got on too, repping his podcast. Love it. It's a good logo. And then they can find us on our flagship show, which I'll show off if I can lift my beard. But this is our Cardinals Nation 24/7 podcast t-shirt. You can find us on YouTube. We are also available on, the audio versions that you can find on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and all that. But we much prefer you to subscribe and find us on YouTube. That way, it's not just the audio. Jared does a great job with putting some edits in the video, and you can kind of get to see us interact and not just hear our voice, but we have a lot of fun with it each week. We do special giveaway prizes that anybody that subscribes throughout the season will be doing special giveaways. So that's something to encourage fans that it's our way of giving back, but also to get you guys to subscribe and be a part of it.
Yeah. And we did have someone pop in and say, that we were trying to turn this into a money-making thing. That is not the case. While we would like it to make money, the main thing is we've done things like, shirts, and we're going to be, putting out some T-shirts. So if that's something you're interested in and you would like a shirt, send us a message, either personally or just to the group or the page. Let us know that you're interested in a shirt. Similar to what I have some behind me here. So we do have a couple of limited ones. If you want to see if we have a size, we only have white currently. But if you are interested in one, let us know. If not, we're going to put people in your size on a waiting list, as would be ideal. Also, to do this, the program we're using now is not free. To edit the podcast is not free. The shirts are not free. And then whenever we do giveaways like we're going to do here with this video, just for our Facebook group and page people, those items are obviously not free. So in order to make good money with a podcast, you need, millions of subscribers and, million subscribers and tons of hours worth of viewing, which we won't have. But if it's just a couple bucks here and there to help take care of those costs so we can do this, which we do it more of a hobby than anything, then that's the actual intended goal. So if anyone was curious why, and that's why we try to prefer you go to YouTube, just because it helps us out a little bit more. But whether you're checking us out, watching us, or liking us, no matter what, we appreciate it either way. And give us feedback. Let us know what you like, what you don't like, what you would like to see more or less of. Send us questions for the show. Chris does Cardinal Cuts with Chris Lollis, which is kind of what we're calling this makeshift, because that's kind of what it's been, is feeding Chris questions, which is totally fine. You can find that's an audio thing only. You can find on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Chris really likes doing that and connecting with you guys. Plus, he's got a sweet soundtrack that plays in the background, some sweet banjo that Matt Devine, who's currently watching, Matt Devine put that together. He plays the banjo, so he threw out some notes for a track for Chris to lay in the background of his podcast. It sounds great. It really matches with the beard. We're trying to plug everyone else as well. Chris, tell us about tell us about your parrot over your left shoulder.
Oh yeah, this parrot over here. No, this was some woodwork that a group member had sent, as kind of a token of appreciation. Max Morelli, he sent that last season, but we do this again. This is like our way of interacting with group members, that we're not on YouTube trying to be famous or making a ton of money. Like Jared said, anything that once we hit the 1,000 subscribers is when we can start monetizing. And that's not something we're going to make much money at. It's just something
4,000 hours viewed.
And 4,000 hours of viewed time. So, we're a long way from that, but in a short time to have almost 400 subscribers speaks volumes to, the hard work that we're putting in, but also the members' interest of being a part of it, which we appreciate that. We try to always show that appreciation. We do that by shouting you guys out on the show. We've had some guests on the show, but to do these giveaways, like Jared said, that's kind of been coming out of our pocket, where we want to do that just to give back. There's been a couple winners of the first giveaway was a Bob Gibson statue that went to Graham Hicks. The Nolan Gorman bobblehead went to Brad Kell. Ironically, today we made Brad a moderator, so he'll be joining us this season as a moderator. No, that giveaway was not rigged. He earned it. We put the names in a hat. We drew them out. But, we want to do that throughout the season. It's not going to happen every episode, but we do want to give back to the Cardinals Nation 24/7 group members, because without you, there would be no viewers, there would be no podcast, and the group wouldn't be as great as what it is.
It is, and we have a lot of people too. And also, since this is a Facebook only thing, I want to tell people, if you do see someone taking, that's, belittling someone or name calling, etc., you do need to alert it to us. Let us know. Like Chris said earlier, there's, how many thousand?
37 plus thousand, yeah.
37 plus thousand people. We don't see every post and comment that goes through unless it's notified. That's why we have the group. We try to give some freedom. If you don't like that kind of stuff, that's why we have the page. The page is just us posting. There's no riffraff. I mean, you can comment, but there's no Carpenter, is 1 for 50 now or any of that kind of stuff. That's all just official. So if you don't like dealing with the interaction of people's posts, then go to the page. But the group is definitely for you. A lot of people like that interaction. And so we have a lot of good debate. And a lot of times I've seen where people get their mind changed just from, someone throwing out facts or giving some rationale. And there's others that are just there to counter and argue no matter what. But if someone does that, they're calling names, they're cursing at you, etc., flag it. We do get notified, myself, Chris, Larry Cox, Matt Devine, Dustin Duffy, Zach Jen, Boyd Harder, and now Brad Kell will be notified of that. We can delete the comment and then take action depending on whether or not it is. That may be muting someone, for a certain period of time, that may be and reminding them of the rules, that may be kicking them out permanently and banning them from the page. We don't want to go that route, but, we have to know. A lot of times people say, oh, there's people that do all kinds of stuff in here. If it doesn't get reported, there's a chance we may not see it. So let us know if you feel like it's something personal. It's done anonymous. We don't call it out, but and if you don't like what someone has to say, like some people don't like deleted posting. Some people think it's funny. It gets a lot of interaction either way. If you don't like it, then you can block that person and you won't see anything that they do in the group. So keep that in mind too. If someone, you just don't like what they're doing or saying, feel free to block them.
Yeah, as far as all the other groups out there, and I'm not knocking those other groups, everyone has its own niche and different rules to follow, where some of it just strictly positive stuff. And, I just want people to know in the Cardinals Nation 24/7 group, there are occasions where posts get removed, whether it's going away from Cardinal baseball. Some of it gets off topic where it's political or something, that just brings out the worst in people, that we do remove those. But there's also times where Facebook will remove posts and comments that isn't the admin and moderators removing. A lot of cussing, we will get a notification from Facebook that they have removed the comment. And then we're getting posted in the group that the admin team is on a power trip. We're censoring everybody. The fact of the matter is Facebook's really coming down hard on a lot of censorship. It's not just us, but we do our best to try to let you have freedom of speech as far as voicing opinions, but not crossing the line of getting a lot of reported, content. We got to do what's best for the group. And
Facebook has definitely been very proactive. Even they've deleted a lot of stuff that we necessarily probably normally wouldn't.
Right.
Just because someone says somebody, someone might make a comment. Somebody was, I don't know if I should say this, but someone says, oh, this guy was, bitching the other day. They take the first part of that and automatically, will flag it, they tell us we should take action. So sometimes when someone does get put on a post approval or muted or something, it's because Facebook is recommending to us to take action. And they've also been telling us if we don't take action, then, they could levy, basically, they could suspend the page, etc. to us. So, but we're trying to take it more serious when it gets notified, especially when Facebook tells us. Quick also, Lynn wants to know your favorite Mike Shannon phrase or phrases. So you got to go with "Get up, baby, get up, get up."
You can't go wrong with "Get up, baby, get up." I mean, that's probably the best. I know here recently, I had posted a Facebook memory of a time where the daylight saving time was, on there, and he said, it doesn't matter if we spring forward or fall back as long as the mattress holds up. I thought that was a classic Shannon line, but. Yeah, get up, baby, get up. That's got to be number one. Creeping me out, man.
That was the point. Duffy does say that he has a bet with you, and you've already agreed to it. Cardinals get 90 when you shave the beard.
No, what?
I was there for that. It's a true thing. I seen it happen.
No, this thing's going around.
I saw it happen. Then Victor, good point. Reminder, what time is the game tomorrow, Chris? Opening day, Great American Ballpark, Cincinnati, Ohio, the Nasty Natty.
What time is that game, Jared?
But for me in Arizona, I think it is at 1:10.
Yeah, it's 3 o'clock here. 3:10.
Okay. 3:10. Okay, cool. That's 4:10 Eastern for Boyd and some of our other East Coast pals. But yeah, you can. We're going to try to do something like this once a week, once a month. Chris wanted to put something special together for the Facebook group only, not specifically a YouTube thing. But we'll probably edit this up and throw this on YouTube onto our channel. Just have it out there for content, regardless. We'll keep it here so you can rewatch it. One other thing I did want to tell, we've got some more viewers that are popping in again, is that based off of this video, if you're a member of the page of the group, send us a screenshot of your subscription to the YouTube channel, and you must be a member of the Facebook group or page, which if you're watching this, you are. Send Chris or one of us that screenshot. We're going to enter you in for a drawing, and we'll do that drawing. Let's give it 48 hours, and from now. And Chris will announce that winner on his next audio edition of Cardinal Cuts. And you can choose between a jersey or a bobblehead. Some people like jerseys, some people don't, but we'll give you the choice. So send it to us within 48 hours. So you've got, we'll just say by the end of the midnight on what the hell day is today? We'll say midnight Friday, go through opening day. Some people are going to watch this later. They couldn't make it. It's totally fine. Submit that to Chris, and he'll announce the winner on his next Cardinal Cuts, or the next one after Friday.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, just screenshot that subscription. And I know a lot of people, they'll watch our videos, but they'll say, I can't subscribe because I don't have a YouTube account. YouTube, it's free. All you gotta do is set up an account. Not saying you have to just to subscribe to our show, but just create something, go over, you can hit subscribe, you can catch us, and a lot of other content is out there on YouTube. But any views help. We appreciate anybody that tunes in, but for you to be able to subscribe, you do have to have a YouTube account, which is free to set up, and we encourage everybody to do that. It helps us out, and again, you're going to be entered to win some sweet giveaways this season. So,
yeah, that's why because we're rich. Matt wants to know, how about 100 wins? Shave the beard.
Oh man, you guys are just wanting this thing gone. 100 wins. I'm not going to do it.
Judy Wilson does not. She said Chris is not shaving his beard.
Well, then I'll agree with Judy. I mean, if the Cardinals win the World Series, I'd think about it long and hard.
I want to throw out something real quick.
Sure.
If the Cardinals win or lose tomorrow, I will shave my beard. You heard it here. Tell your friends.
Well, there you go.
I'm not afraid, Chris. I'm not afraid to shave this off.
I've earned these wisdom highlights, and truth be told, a lot of the group members have caused these gray hairs. So, they should want this to stay on there as a reminder of what hell they put me through the last 5 years.
I know that's what the group is doing to Chris. It's coming from the top, and it's just adding to.
That's right. That's right. But I love you guys, and I wouldn't have it any other way. It's worth every minute.
Yes, Chris loves you guys. He wouldn't have it any other way. Thanks for joining us. Check us out. Check out Cardinal Cuts and Redbirds with Red Wine on audio podcast versions, or the regular podcast. That's how you prefer to listen to it. Or check us out on YouTube. We would appreciate the subscription, the like, and share, and tell your friends. What sharing does, it just kind of gives the algorithm type thing, just gets it in front of more people. So we would appreciate that. And we thank you all for taking time tonight to join us on this live show. We're going to try to do it once a month. We're going to try to do 2 live shows. One will just be Chris taking questions from you guys, but probably myself, reading them and feeding them to him. And then we're going to do the conversation with the nation that we did recently that we'll do again, and that will be where we have a little roundtable discussion of people joining us from different places. Like we had Brad Kell and some others from other sources just talking Cardinal baseball and giving. That's it.
Yeah, hopefully we can say that that's a winner tomorrow and start the season on a positive note. This was kind of like a pre-opening day Q&A with Cardinals Nation 24/7. Again, just encourage everybody to go like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and appreciate everybody that's been a member of the group and our page. Go Cards.